All right, welcome everybody to this edition of the Lead. Your student Sean Garrity, your host, as always, each and every Friday night right here inside Jamaicans.com. All right, we got something interesting today, of course. Just to let you know that this presentation brought to you with the help of the Dribbler Sports, fueling the passion. All right, be sure to check them out at Instagram at the Dribbler. All right, go check them out at the Dribbler. So the biggest thing we were talking about today in the world of track and field from the Caribbean standpoint is the movement of Brianna Williams over to a new track club, and she has dearly departed from Ato Boldon, her coach for the last 10 years. But we're going to talk about that in a few. We also got some reaction from the streets. People have their feelings about the move that she made. We also ran a poll to see what people thought about her move. But of course, tonight we have some things leading up to it. Just to let you know that I'm actually hosting a charity bingo next week Thursday at the Castle Gardens Clubhouse. So we'll give you some information on that later on in the show. But it's a bingo night, for our brethren who is suffering from pancreatic cancer. So please try to make it out to support. It's a bingo party. It's BYOB. We got free limited buffet. Of course, you can get some more information at Beats and Bingo. Let me just run that across the lower. Let me just run that across real quick. Where is it at? There we go. Log on to Beats and bingo.eventbrite.com for more information. Of course, this presentation brought to you by the road to track and field, the road to champs, and Jamaicans.com. So we don't have much time tonight. As always, we got a nice little 30 minutes packed in. Of course, we'll run through and let you know how to get in touch with us on the show. You could also check out my YouTube channel if you're not here or can't be here. It's at the Sean Show. It's the Sean Show for the replay over there on YouTube. And of course, Number to call, get you in touch 754-200-1696. And of course, got to say shout outs to Homegrown with Gico. We had a very interesting conversation last night regarding several items. But nonetheless, let's get you guys started with what's going on in the world of track and field. Right now, what's happening in track and field is that before we talk about Brianna's situation, the London Marathon and the Boston Marathons, they have decided they're going to be adding a um, a non-binary option. And I know one thing I dislike or I find particularly distasteful regarding some comments sometimes when I get phone calls about athletes from some nations, especially they're women. The conversation about Casta, the conversation about Maslini, and those other female athletes. They're like, oh, they're DSD, they're this, they're that, and they should run in their own category. But here we are now. The London Marathon is going to include a non-binary section, but this is for the public ballot for next year's London Marathon, and they're going to have the non-binary agenda for the first time. Of course, organizers have already confirmed this. And I think it's on the heels of what is the Boston Marathon. They also decided to go with a third gender for the race. So you're going to have male, female, and non-binary. Of course, the options for the ballot opens on October 1st next week. That's next week or week after next. So there's male, female, and non-binary. However, key thing to note is that the elite races, which all operate under the World Athletics rules, will not offer a non-binary option. And what the event director was saying that they're trying to make the event, because he's there from TCS London. That's the director Hugh Brasher was saying that they wanted to continue the journey of making the event a truly inclusive event, knowing that there's a lot more to be done, but it changes as this demonstrates the commitment of the TCS London Marathon, that is for everyone. So, like I said earlier, the change was implemented following extensive review, and they actually consulted with the London Marathon events, and they were trying to make the event the most diverse, equitable, and inclusive marathon in the world. They actually made an official statement. So then, and the London Marathon's announcement came a day after the Boston Marathon announced that they were adding a non-binary option for next year's race. Next year's race, of course, for the London Marathon is actually in April. And again, the three genders are male, female, non-binary, which will be offered to all participants registering for the mass participation element of the marathon. And of course, other entry routes, including charity entries. So, yeah, so they're going to be adding the non binary section. So, I want to say good luck to all the athletes who are competing, especially those who are competing in that division for the first time, because we'll get to see, first of all, one thing I like about any event that's the first time they're doing it is that there's always going to be a record, right? There's a record every time. You win it first, you're the person with the first record. But speaking of records, when it comes to the marathon, um, Kipchoge, Elliot, how you say his name? Eliud Kipchoge. I'm trying to find his name. He's going after the marathon world record. Let me see if I could find that article. But in the meantime, while I try to find that article, um, on the banned substance list, I know recently um, we were looking at, I became sent front and center because Shakira Richardson, um, you know, was, you know, stripped of her title from the USA trials and was not able to compete, and it became a big thing, right? And everyone was, some people were some people rejoiced, some people were not, and so we always look at what they're up to, but the the cannabis is still on the banned substance list, while something else like tramadol has been taken off. But here it is: Eliud Kipchoge and Diamata will chase records at the Berlin Marathon. So Kipchoge and D'Amato, they're like really, interesting athletes to be doing this type of a feat. Kipchoge is a 37-year-old, and he's been running for a very long time. But they will go ahead and try for the Berlin, try to get a world record in Berlin. So we wish them all the best um, with that feat. But I know the big thing right now from the Caribbean standpoint is where Miss Brianna Williams will be training the next season. So Brianna is actually she actually switched camps, right? And that's a big thing right now for many people. There's been a lot of talk about it, and people are asking. There were questions. Some people were having questions. Some people were actually calling for the switch before this switch that occurred recently. And some people are saying that this was coming, and that she left Ato Boldon. So and it says in from the Caribbean Weekly that she's excited to join that club. So one of the things that there's a lot of questions I have regarding the switch, because in the poll that we did, we were looking at whether or not it was the best decision, if there are questions, or if it's a bad move. Of course, she's one of the ace young sprinters, and she's going to be relocating from Florida to Jamaica to train with the Titans Track Club. And that's led by Olympian Michael Freitas, who I actually had a quick conversation with him earlier today. And I'm going to share part of that conversation with you guys later on in the show. And Gregor Little. Now, Gregor Little, many of you may not know him, but I think he ran for Wilmers as well and ran the 400 hurdles. I think he won the 400 hurdles at Boys and Girls Champs, but was plagued by some, varying injuries when he left. But nonetheless, so the move actually became public Wednesday. So she's only 20, and she's been to the Tokyo Olympic Games. She actually won the gold medal, and from the Olympics, as well as a youth athlete. But she actually switched from Trinidad and Olympian, her coach for the last 10 years, Ato Boldon. So she was actually the youngest athlete to win the sprint double at the 2018 World Under 20 Championships in Tampere, Finland. And at 16, it was just amazing at the age of 16 to have done that. But of course, she did the right thing. She thanked her coach, Bolden, for guidance over this time. And it's just interesting to see where things will fall. But out in the public, she is thanking Coach Otto for he has done for her career so far, and that she considers him a father figure. That's one of the things she said to the Jamaica Observer. Oh, it's a new chapter, and she's going to be training in Jamaica. But some people have expressed a lot of questions about what it is, and some people think it's some people. Of course, everybody's not going to think the same thing, right? Some people think it's a great move, while some people think it's not a great move, right? I'm trying to find some of the what we would say some of the comments that were made regarding it, all right, regarding her move. So if I find it in time, I'll share it with you guys. But we did have a poll that we ran, right, and we also have some things that we're going to share with you regarding the move. But we'll see what we think. I gave three in the poll that we did. There were three things that we asked, right? If it was a good move, a bad move, or it was the best move. Um, where is that graphic here? No, it's not right here. All right. I think I may have misplaced it. All right. But nonetheless, there are some people, who I think 55% of the people in that poll believe that it's the best move for Brianna. Another 30 something or almost 40 some for 38% believe that they have questions about it. And then there's the few that are left behind who will say that it's not a good move, right? when I went out in the streets and was asking around to see what people were actually thinking, right? There was one comment that really speaks to me, and this is where the questions come in. So the question is, or the comment was, Brianna Williams should stay with her current coach. The grass is not always greener on the other side of the fence, right? Now, that message came from Rod from Virginia, and he was making that comment because something I learned was that, the grass may be greener, right? But even though the grass is greener, you still have to go cut it. And there's still weeds that you have to go through. And once you go through those weeds, then you're going to find out everything you need to know. Okay. Um, so what do I think? I'm going to tell you what I think. If it was a great move for her, if it, later on, right before we cut out from the topic, I'm going to let you know what I think about the move. Now, making a move, we've seen some other athletes who've made moves recently. Like Omar McLeod, who's moved several times in a couple of years, and his movement has been questionable because he's not performed as well once he started moving around. We've seen athletes leave, like Coach Stephen Francis, and go elsewhere, and they don't pan out very well. But this move is a little bit of a different move because Brianna is still in a growth stage, right? She hasn't gotten there yet. Okay, even though she's won a gold medal, that's on a relay. But we're talking about individual goals or something like that. I mean, quite frankly, it's going to be difficult to do that now if your name is not Shelley, Elaine, or Sherrick. It's going to be very hard to be the gold medalist right now. But we do believe that she has that trajectory on hand. But the movement of the coach, was this actually the best decision? Because there were a lot of questions that came up for me when that whole thing started. One of the things I wanted to know was, how would she adjust to life in Jamaica? I grew up in Jamaica, and I left when I was about 20, the same age as she's going to Jamaica. And for me, but she's a professional already. She's already working. She's making money. But for me, one of the things I always say, it would be difficult for me to go back to Jamaica is and I say this to friends sometimes. I say, a reason I can't go back to Jamaica right now as an adult, because I've never really been an adult in Jamaica, right? I've never had to pay rent, light, water, mortgage, insurance, figure out how to operate a vehicle, how to keep a vehicle on the road, etc. I haven't had to figure that out. So those are the things that I wonder, how some of the questions that I have, how is that move going to be? Where does she stay? I mean, I don't think she's just going to buy a regular house in a regular spot. She might have to go somewhere with a lot more security. Her mom has always been by her side. So the question is mom also going to make that transition? Because it's a lot of movement. There's a lot of movement parts to this decision, and it's not just track and field, right? Will, and it boils down to, will this do her well in terms of her mental preparedness for running, in terms of mental preparedness for life? And I also had another question: was Coach Francis an option in the entire thing? But we also got some thoughts from some people on the streets, and we're going to share some of those with you right now, because they have some varying ideas as to what's going on, right? So let me bring that audio up, because we want to find out from some of you guys what the thoughts were, and hear a couple of reactions from Brianna leaving, or what some people think about Brianna leaving Coach Ato.
Heard the news yesterday, and I thought it was a good move, and it needed to happen now. And I think that her and Ato probably parted ways amicably, probably with his blessings. I don't think he has time, with his day job, to be as effective as a coach, to give her the amount of attention necessary for her to get to the next level, which we all know she has the talent to.
Absolutely, yes. Being a mutual agreement between her and her coach, she capped out where she was initially, so she needs to grow. She's 20 years old, almost 21. She needs a growth right now. So in a nutshell, yes, I think it's a good move.
Well, I mean, according to them, it's a mutual agreement. I guess he took her as far as he could go. Mm-hmm. So, no hard feeling to say, well, she moved to somebody else that can take her further. So, I'm in agreement. if it's a mutual agreement, rather.
What do you think is going to be your biggest challenge leaving from Florida to Jamaica?
I don't think there's much of a challenge really, because Jamaica have better coaches than what she have to deal with up here. I don't think it's a big adjustment. You know, I mean, she's from Jamaica, she know the place, so it's really shouldn't be really any big obstacle for her.
Do you think that she considered camps within the U.S., within Florida? You have some really good camps.
She probably did, but I mean, Jamaica. What can I say? You know what I'm saying?
And as you heard that respondent saying that, look, it's Jamaica. Well, how can you go wrong with making that move to Jamaica? Right? We're gonna see. Yes, greetings, G Cole. I mean, G Cole, you tell me, what are your thoughts on Miss Brianna going over to Jamaica? Because the questions I have regarding, how life will be, how that adjustment will be made. Because I think that the move itself is one thing, because you're packing up. I don't know what she's packing up or she's not packing up. But just like Nkrumah, who said he was not going to go to pro, he was not going to go to college, he was going to go back. That discussion with the family and whomever else are the deciders, I'm not privy to that information. But just looking from the outside, when you move from one place to the next, there's a lot of differences that's going to create make the water a little bit more murky than what you realize. Once you start going through that grass and cutting it down, you start seeing some things. It's like sometimes you buy a house. It seems like the perfect house when you do the walkthrough. But then once you start living in that house, some little things start popping up that you're like, this wall is actually a little bit lean. This window doesn't really close all the way, honey. You start seeing some things that you don't see when you do that walkthrough, right? But coach of the Titans and one of the CEOs, we actually were able to catch up with Michael Freighter. And he had some, I didn't go too hard with him, but one thing I did ask him was, how did she end up making that move to Titans? And I think that gives us an insight as to where she was mentally. Let's see what coach had to say.
I mean, she actually reached out to us, I think she within herself realized that she needed to make a change because she has been stagnant basically for the last 4 years. She ran 10-9 from 2019 and basically still the same place. I think she just realized that she achieved. And from what I understand, I mean, I think Ato is a very good coach, but Ato was just, he had other things that's going on where he couldn't be there full time. I think that's just the missing thing for her. She needed somebody to be there full time. And as I said, Ato, one of the most experienced athletes. You care about, how to deal with an athlete in certain situations, performing and all of that. Because I think he did a great job, especially during our junior years. But I think he has a lot of things going on and wasn't there full time and just feel like she just needed basically stability.
Is she the first female? And if she is in your group, how do you think that will work with the guys that are there?
I mean, she's the first female sprinter. I think she's a professional. The thing is that she's a professional. And most of the top ladies we know don't actually train with other females. They train with men. That's what I know for a fact. I mean, it's a very competitive group, and I think with her character, she won't hesitate to mix it up with the guys. So I don't think it's going to be a problem with her being the only female sprinter there. I think it'll help her because I mean when we're doing the training programs, I mean most of the time she's going to have to run with the men, so that would only push her.
All right, so a lot of optimism, of course, from Michael Freighter, which is what you expect, being the person who runs the Titans group. But some other people, most people, like I said, were saying it's a really good move. Paul was saying that this is a great move, little princess. We expect phenomenal improvement in the near future as you will be training in the speed mecca, Jamaica. It says a very great upcoming talent. I personally think that she needed a change. That's Edmund is speaking now. I personally think that she needed a change from her glory days as a teen sensation. She seems to be slowly regressing. The Clayton twins has now surpassed her and surging ahead. I don't think the Clayton twins have surpassed her. The Clayton twins, they're if you're going by PB, and you can't give the same time to both of them, right? One in PB is like 11.2, the other one's at 10.96 or 10.98. And Brianna is down to, I think, 10.93 or 10.94, right? And this is the 100. So 0.000 is a big deal when you look at the 100-meter times. So she's not regressing. She's actually improved over the years with Ato, right? The thing is, I have not seen anyone who has said that this is a bad move for her, right? Frank is saying it's a good decision. You should be doing better times. The USA that run two at the youth games suggest she has improved a lot. Love the move. Bless you. Princess is saying nothing wrong with the change. David's good move. Enough respects to Atta. You have lined her up against the best. It's put on a good challenge, but lacked the finished touch. I trust that and hope that her new coach can bear fruit, and that's what he's calling about results. But there is one guy who disagrees with the move, and that's Damien. Damien is saying it's not a good move, that she's already improving at a steady pace, which is a good sign for sport longevity. She wants some want her to be running 10.6 and 10.7 already. Don't rush the process. But of course, Cheek was saying that Ato actually said that Brianna needs a full-time coach. And if that is the crutch of why she made the move to Jamaica, it's a plausible reason, but I don't think it's enough to actually go all the way to Jamaica. Because there are good outfits here in the US that would have loved to have taken her up, to bring her on their squad, but then to go to Jamaica again as the option, because your coach, you need a full-time coach. I mean, there are a lot of full-time coaches, a lot of great full-time coaching outfits and camps here in South Florida, right? I'm in the South Florida market, and I know that they're out there. So I can't really fully buy that, that's the reason why we're going to go to Jamaica, But to me, there's a lot more. I do wish her all the best, because when she was just like 8 or 9, I saw her training with some Olympic guys. She was their rabbit, and they would chase her down during the workouts, and that's fine. So she does have, the options here. But now to go to Jamaica, I think I think it's a questionable move, in terms of not just running, because there's a lot more to running than just running. And that is where my mind is. Like, why did we make that move? Was it really that bad with Otto? Because, like the one person said, she was improving, but at what rate? And sometimes I think as fans, we get too caught up into, the what you want to say? I want to say, the fanfare of it all. And it's like we want everyone to win, but when they don't win, then we laugh at them or we scorn them, not realizing that even in those times, they have done a lot of good things, not just for themselves, but also for the sport. And it keeps going, right? It keeps on going. And we're looking for this instant gratification sometimes from the young athletes. I mean, she hasn't even turned 21 as yet. That is bold. And she's been a professional for a couple of years now. But, even though Coach Frater said that she's been at 10.9 since, let's look at how long it really takes to move your personal best in any event once you started running at a certain level. It does take time, it does take work. And a lot of times, like I would say, look at what has happened to someone like Omar McLeod. Look at what happened to Mulaney. Look at what happened to Kelly Spencer. Once they started moving around, switching coaches, changing up stuff. Jeremy Warner, when he moved from Clyde Hart and went somewhere else, looked like he was going to go great, but then boom, it just crashed out. And these things happen because when you make the change, just like in business, it takes a little time to ramp up. Whatever you're doing takes a little time to ramp up. So it's not totally a bad move because she does have age and youth on her side. But if the change was made for an instant gratification, I don't see that as something that's going to really pan out for the time. All right. So we do definitely wish her all the best. Miss Brianna, we look for you on the track. But before we go, one last thing: the WADA outlaws tramadol use from 2024, but maintains cannabis ban. So basically, the World Athletics Doping Agency will add the painkiller tramadol to the list of banned substances for athletes in competition from 2024 and has maintained its ban on cannabis after a review. Of course, the decisions that was taken by WADA's executive committee after a meeting in Sydney on Friday and followed recommendations from the body's advisory group on the list of banned substances. Of course, tramadol abuse with its the dose-dependent risk of physical dependence, opiate addiction, and overdoses in the general population is of concern and has led it to it being banned, being a controlled drug in many countries, the WADA said in its release. Of course, they've done research which suggested that it's confirmed the potential to enhance physical performance, which is another part of it, because they're looking at former England soccer goal player Chris Kirkland said in July he had been driven to the point of suicide by his addiction to and abuse of tramadol after using the opioid to treat back injuries. Of course, we do hope that all the athletes, whatever you're going through, you handle it in the most responsible way. But that's my time here today. Just remember to log on to beatsandbingo.eventbrite.com for more information on the charity bingo that we're going to be having next week, that I'm going to be hosting next week, Thursday, in Lauderhill, Florida, at the Castle Gardens Clubhouse. So it's been fun. It's been real. It's the lead. Yours truly, Sean Garrity, saying have a good night. Have a good rest of the weekend. And we look forward to having you again next week, Friday, for more from the world of track and field.